welcome to NDTV Profit. I'm Hiral Dadia, and today joining us on the show we have Mr. Nadir Godrej, Chairperson at Godrej Industries Group and Chairperson and MD at Godrej Industries as well. Welcome to the show, Mr. Godrej. A pleasure to speak to you as always. My first question coming to you is, today is the National Chemistry Day Summit. If you could tell us more about this event, what is it and what are the trends that you're picking up in terms of innovations?
Yes, we are at the National Chemistry Day Summit, where we have many people from the chemical industry. We had eminent keynote speakers like Professor M.M. Sharma and Naushad Forbes, Naushad Forbes is very passionate about increasing innovation in India. India spends much less on innovation than many other countries. Professor Sharma also emphasized that India needs to do much more on innovation. We have very few patents. We have very few R&D experts on the boards of companies. And all this could help India's chemical industry go further. It is a successful industry, but we have very little innovation. Very few new medicines have come out of India or new chemical synthesis methods. So it is very important that we emphasize innovation, because if India is to become Viksit Bharat, the chemical industry is foundational, because all other industries need chemicals, and we need to take our chemical industry to one step higher. And the purpose of this seminar today, this conference, is to push the chemical industry to new heights.
Absolutely, and these innovative trends and technology that comes into the chemical industry would actually redefine this landscape of modern chemistry and actually help explore how this Indian chemical industry could actually leverage all of this as well with regards to growth. Now, with India, Mr. Godrej, emerging as a viable alternative hub for manufacturing as well, do you think the Indian chemical industry is probably uniquely positioned on the world stage?
Yes, it is the sixth largest chemical industry in the world, and it is poised to further expand. And in the Godrej Industries group also, we have three chemical businesses. One is our crop protection business in Godrej Agrovet. One is Aztec Life Sciences, which is a CDMO business, mostly in agrochemicals, but also in other areas. And the chemicals business of Godrej Industries, which is in oleochemicals, surfactants, and specialty chemicals. We are expanding our specialty chemicals. We are expanding our R&D budgets in all three of these businesses, and many other Indian companies are doing the same. And this is a great opportunity for the Indian chemical industry to collaborate, to do more research, along with universities and research institutes. And Naushad Forbes also emphasized how much more research needs to be done in universities rather than government research institutes, because we have the added benefits of creating students. And he gave the prime example of UDCT. Professor Pandit was there, Professor Sharma was there, and they reeled off the names of 12 to 15 graduates of UDCT who set up large Indian chemical industries. Mukesh Ambani, of course, was a striking example, but there was Dr. Reddy's Labs and Cadilla and Asian Paints and Pidilite and many other businesses which were set up by the alumni of UDCT. So if we do all these things, expand research, do more research with universities, there is a bright future for the Indian chemical industry.
I'm saying yes, lots that is happening across, but now, sectors which do face global markets are facing headwinds, and that's coming in and getting me to my next question with regards to the way US has come in and slammed another 25% additional tariff, which brings it to 50%. India has responded that we will not give in. We have Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who has come out and said that he is ready to pay a personal price, and that's a strong message over Trump tariffs. What would you have to say in terms of what's happening and the stance that India has taken?
Well, India needs to keep negotiating with the United States. Obviously, if some kind of peace is achieved between Russia and Ukraine, things will be much easier for us. At the same time, this additional tariff will kick in after some days, so there could be hope to do something in the meantime. It's going to be very difficult to negotiate because India is likely to be very firm on the agricultural situation, and it makes sense that we have to support our farmers. Of course, many of our industries who want to export to the United States will be affected badly by this, but we have opportunities to expand the market for our products in India as well as export them to many other countries. Many other countries find themselves in the same boat as us. Brazil is a very good example. The US's neighbors, Canada and Mexico, are also there. And one good thing that will come out of all of this is that all these countries that have been badly hit are likely to cooperate with each other. Surprisingly, the US and China seem to be coming to some kind of conclusion, and that will also make it very difficult for all these other countries because China is likely to be a big competitor for most of them.
Mr. Godrej, an interesting aspect that you mentioned about China, but China has recently actually come out from its own brief tariff war with Trump, and they've come out and voiced some bit of strong support with regards to where India goes, because you have the Chinese ambassador who publicly called Trump a bully and warned India that give the bully an inch, he will take a mile, urging New Delhi not to yield to US trade pressure. What would you have to say to this? Because clearly, you know, we are talking about India with China +1 as a strategic play, and now you're seeing some bit of support that is coming in, at least verbally, from your Chinese player. How do you read this entire puzzle?
Yes, the whole trying to replace China is very difficult because we ourselves get quite a lot of our raw materials from China. And obviously, if we don't have a good trade deal with the US, we cannot export to the US. But many other countries are trying to diversify from China, and we do have some role to play there. In very labor-intensive industries, it is difficult for India to play, and countries like Vietnam and Bangladesh are likely to be the beneficiaries. But in other industries, and particularly the chemical industry, India does have an opportunity to substitute China or even work with China in the supply chain to other countries.
So moving on, okay, if you talk about the entire scenario now, do you think that the US tariff threats that are coming in, India has a 20-day window to negotiate as well further? Do you think these are more of a negotiating strategy than a long-term economic policy?
It is possibly a negotiating strategy, but it's very difficult to predict what goes on in the minds of the President of the United States right now. Sometimes it looks like some personal reason is motivating the actions. So even experts can't figure out exactly what's happening. And I am no expert on diplomacy. I do understand the economic issues, but I really don't know what's in the minds of the American leaders.
Right. I mean, you know, I was just reading another Anand Mahindras tweet, Mr. Godrej, where he said that, you know, Trump's 50% tariff on India calls to make our own nation greater than ever. And he's clearly comparing the current global tariff war to the 1991 foreign exchange crisis that led to India's economic liberalization, arguing that it could be a turning point for revolutionary changes. What would you have to say? Do you think this is a time to get better reforms versus retaliation?
No, I entirely agree with Anand Mahindra. We have needed these reforms for a long time, and any excuse for more reforms is great. And it's always easier to reform when you're in a crisis. We were in a terrible crisis in 1991, but look at all the benefits that came out of it.
Absolutely, the benefits are always great, so probably retaliation is not the only way to things like this. Okay,
yes.
So what do you think?
We need some kind of provocation to reform, and reforming is entirely in our own hands.
Absolutely. So what do you think in India actually use as a negotiating tactic with the US? Because initially the thoughts were that for Trump to go ahead and increase it to 50%, one was the Russia oil angle. The second angle, a lot of people considered as well that did come in. So do you think it's only the oil angle to it, or is it something else?
It looks like America was hoping that India would relent on the agricultural front, but India seems very determined not to relent on that front. So it's not very clear whether there's any further concession we can give to America. But as I said earlier, if by chance some kind of truce in Ukraine is achieved, then maybe the additional tariffs at least will go away and we can probably live with those tariffs. I doubt we can make enough concessions to persuade the Americans to give us duties below 25%. And I think we are determined not to yield too much and to live with it if we have to.
Right. Mr. Godrej, in the past as well, you've mentioned that US tariffs do not really have a significant impact on Godrej Group's businesses. However, now when you're talking about 50%, do you see any impact anywhere?
No, I don't see any significant impact because we have very little direct exports to the United States. The percentage is small and we could easily replace it with sales in the domestic market or exports to other countries. There are some second-hand effects, such as some of our customers are possibly exporters to the United States, but even that effect will probably be there, but I don't think it will be very large. And it's also likely that some of those customers will also be able to export to other countries. And it's also possible that on some items, exemptions will continue. It's possible that for high-tech and pharmaceutical exemptions might continue. And US companies that promise to invest heavily in the US may be able to import from India at lower tariffs. As the newspapers were arguing, that Apple could be able to import from India at lower tariffs because they're promising to invest in the United States. So reliefs of these kind will also be good for India.
Yeah, absolutely. I think reliefs is what we need to wait and watch and see. The other aspect, to actually insulate India as an economy that everyone is talking about is, let's make the domestic markets really strong. If you have to look at the domestic markets as well, what is the kind of consumption trend that you're picking up? Because rural somewhere has picked up. Urbans, some corporates and industries are saying that there is a pickup. Some are saying it's still lacking. Where are you on both these angles?
Yes, I think that consumption is picking up, but it's not at a very fast pace. And 6.5% is a good growth rate compared to the rest of the world, but it's not very good compared to India's potential. So if we could get the economy growing at 8 or 9%, which is not impossible to my mind, we have to make sure that the economy works for the bottom of the pyramid, and anything that the government can do to help that will help domestic consumption. But let us not forget that whereas the US is a big part of the global economy, there is a substantial global economy outside of the US, and we must look to exporting more to Europe, China, and the Far East. Right,
so I think diversification in terms of looking at our export markets is a key. Mr. Godrej, if you're looking at the businesses with regards to Godrej Industries, Godrej Agrovat, GCPL across, what is that key trend that you're picking up right now? Because the messaging that is very mixed from an earnings perspective across. So what is that trend that you're saying that investors should be watching out for?
Right. In Godrej Agrovat, we are seeing good growth. The monsoon has been reasonably good. There were some times where there was drought and floods, so it affected us to some extent, but the actual agricultural production is good, and we expect that the Rabi crops will be very good. And our oil palm business is expanding rapidly. This year we are providing more and more saplings to our farmers to grow, and we are very optimistic that oil palm will start taking off in India and reduce India's import dependence on vegetable oils, which is very, very serious. But over time, that dependence will come down as more and more oil palm is grown in India.
Okay. And what about the other businesses, Mr. Godrej?
The Godrej Industries chemicals business is doing quite well. And both Godrej Properties and Godrej Consumer Products had their AGMs and their first quarter results recently, and they are doing reasonably well.
I'm saying a goal of becoming a $1 billion player by 2030 is what you have for the chemical business as well, right? So what is going to be the strategy to reach there? Because as a company,
yes,
as a brand, you are investing a lot in R&D. You are investing in terms of innovation as well. So
yes,
what is it that will help you reach there?
In our chemical business, in the Godrej Industries chemical business, expansion of R&D will help us very well as acquisitions. We are keen to acquire companies with good know-how, even if they're not very big. And we think that that will be a big part of our growth strategy. We've already made some acquisitions, and we will look forward to doing more.
Yeah, my question is, I'm saying agriculture, dairy, fisheries, these are the ones that this government wants to protect, right, in terms of sectors when you talk about tariffs. As an industry person, you know, as a veteran, what is it that you can advise that can be done as a trade-off with
tariffs,
the US?
But the government doesn't want imports of some of these products because the government is against the import of GMO. This is not a strategy that the government can change easily, because unless it allows Indian farmers to grow GMO crops, it would be very unfair to Indian farmers to allow the imports of GMO crops. So it's very difficult for the government to change these policies overnight. And similar things in dairy. In fisheries, we are actually a big shrimp exporter to the United States. So the government's stance on other agricultural products is impacting fisheries exports. Shrimp is a big product that India is exporting to the United States.
So my last question coming to you is, you know, we just had a story which was done by a reporter saying that FMCG firms are actually cutting senior roles by 25%, and this is on the back of the AI disruption, tepid growth. In fact, top companies like HUL has seen a downtick of almost 8.5% in its permanent employee count. Dabur has reduced its hiring by over 6%, and similar trends have been observed in Nestle, Emami, and a Godrej Consumer has been noted as well. Is this a trend that you're seeing, and are you seeing AI disruption coming in a big way, which could take away jobs?
It's entirely possible, but we are not clearly seeing that as yet. We are also working on AI, and it is possible that the number of jobs will be taken away, but it's also possible that there will be adequate growth coming out of AI and productivity increases. If it is followed by greater demand, then the total number of jobs will be unaffected. This has usually happened in most technological revolutions. Of course, we can't be sure it will be the same this time, because AI can replace many, many different human abilities, so it is very hard to predict what will actually happen.
Okay, so but Mr. Godrej, any job cuts that you've seen at Godrej Group, number one? And two, isn't there any way where you can reskill employees or anything of that sort to make them viable?
Yes, we have not seen any major job cuts yet in our own organizations, and it is entirely possible to reskill some of the people, and we will always attempt to do that if we can, and we will also be careful about future hiring to make sure that we don't overhire people that we may have to lay off later, and that way, even if we do get productivity increases, we will hope to produce more, sell more, and keep the labor force as it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's something which will be the need of the hour as well. But thank you, Mr. Godrej, so much for joining us on the show and speaking to us at NDTV Profit. Categorically, a veteran who's actually telling us, what it would mean for in India when it comes to trade tariff threats. How should India respond? What could be the impact overall? And another aspect that we've touched base on right now is, how AI and slightly lower growth that could be impacting jobs across the consumption play. So lots more to listen on this conversation. That's all that we have on NDTV Profit. Lots more lined up on the other side. Please stay tuned.